I'll start it, and then I'm gonna send it around. Everybody take a piece, and,
Well, everyone has one, but you gave me that one, because isn't this one? Read from that one, and I'll read from that. Because everyone has one.
Sorry, from P and Z. Bill. Is Gino retiring from P and Z? No. Okay. I mean, hopefully he doesn't bail on me, but.
I think we're talking about that.
Yeah, is Gino coming? Yeah, he said yes.
I think they have health issues. The opportunities.
He's so good. Such a good man.
That was, I've been having a problem myself, so I do indeed.
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good.
Yeah, me too. I think maybe the Maldives.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Children.
How's it going? You on this?
Regular, just adult acne.
go.
wrinkles.
Okay, we'll probably get going. It's getting to be that time. So let's do a countdown here. You ready to go? 5, 4.
3, 2, 1. You're good.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Basalt Town Council meeting for Tuesday, October 25. Do not be deceived, it is not December 25, it's actually October 25 out there. So we're pleased to see everyone tonight. Guest of honor has just arrived, so we're going to be okay. So we will start our meeting tonight with a call to order and the roll call from our town clerk, please.
All right, sir. Let us begin with Angela Anderson.
Here.
Glenn Drummond.
Here.
David Knight.
Here.
Elise Hoddle.
Present.
Ryan Slack.
Here.
Bill Kane.
Yes, here.
And Dieter Schindler.
Present.
All right,
Great.
A-team is present, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Next business is our consent agenda, which consists of minutes from the October 11th meeting. So I would entertain either a motion or any changes to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move the town council approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda is there. At this point, we do make we are available to take public comment. I will just remind those that may be viewing in that you can access our website, www.basalt.net, under Agendas and Minutes tab. Click on October 25 meeting packet to open. On the meeting access instructions page, click on the link to join the webinar, and then our town clerk will spot you and admit you to the meeting if you want to address council remotely. Anybody in the audience want to speak to council?
We
Okay.
do have an attendee this evening who called in earlier.
Okay.
I'm promoting him now to panelist, and he is Brian Brandel, candidate for Eagle County Commissioner.
I'm sorry, who is it?
Brian Brandel?
Brian, right? Brian, hi.
Yep, can you guys hear me?
Yep, good to see you. Welcome.
How's it going? Thank you guys for having me on tonight.
Absolutely.
My name is Brian Brandel. Obviously, I'm running for County Commissioner here in Eagle County and wanted to get on and introduce myself. The platform that I'm running under is fiscal responsibility, the proper role of government, and transparency. And I really want to get on there. I've got a lot of private sector experience with dealing with contracting, and I think I could be a big benefit to the county as far as getting their planning and zoning and things going and working more efficiently. I know that a lot of the issues I've been facing have been shortage of staff, but hopefully we can work through that and try to get things going forward as far as that goes. I'm running as a public servant. I was born and raised here in Eagle County, lifetime local, graduated from Eagle Valley High School a little over 20 years ago. So I'm really looking forward to giving back to the community that helped make me the person that I am today. And I look forward to working with all the municipalities in Eagle County once I'm elected November 8th. So that's kind of my spiel. I wanted to put a face with a name. I hope there's some signs and stuff going up over there and you guys have been able to reach out. I have a website if you have any questions about my candidacy or my platforms that I'm running on, and it's brandelforeaglecounty.com. And the other couple things that I want to address once elected is, we've got to get the affordable, or I'm going to say attainable housing, because up here nothing's affordable, everything's expensive in both these valleys. Get attainable housing structures set up and try to figure out a way to work with that. And also the childcare situation is pretty brutal for people coming in to try to figure out a way to make a living and have their kid in childcare. So those are my main issues, or not issues, but agenda items that I'm running on. And I look forward, like I said, to working with all the municipalities once they get elected.
Excellent. Brian, are you from Gypsum? Is that, as I remember? Did you grow up in Gypsum?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
I lived part of my life in Minturn, and then my family moved to Gypsum in my teenage years.
Great. And it looks like you don't lose too many arm wrestling competitions there in Gypsum.
Not too many.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you calling in, and wish you the best of luck, and we'll keep an eye out for you here.
All right. Thank you guys very much, and I appreciate you again for the opportunity to speak. Have a
Okay.
great evening.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Pam? That's,
No, I don't see anybody. Do you see anybody else, James?
look at, okay. All right, we can always take calls if they call in a little bit later, as is our practice. So, with that, we'll turn to mayor and council reports and comments. Anybody up for comments? I will begin with one. So the town manager and I attended Colorado Association of Ski Towns in Glenwood last week. Last week, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thursday. And saw a couple really kind of interesting presentations. So the agenda consisted of tourism trends, discussion of climate action, and then there was a long session on short-term rental regulations. And, you know, I think what we find is that every community is different, and our town is really very different than the circumstance that many of the resort centers find themselves in. So, you know, where they're seeing short-term rentals resulting in displacement of local staff. We're seeing people that don't typically rent out, and they rent for a couple weeks during the summer to make enough money to go see their parents. That's about the extent of it. So it's an interesting, it was an interesting thing to see. We saw an excellent presentation, and if we can get the video, it'd be really worth seeing, on the hanging lake and the kind of traffic management, transportation management, and the whole tourism strategy that CDOT and the City of Glenwood Springs and U.S. Forest Service have put together to try to manage that resource. It's pretty well done. I mean, they have a world of data about their visitor and what their preferences are and how to position themselves, and how the Roaring Fork Valley can position themselves better to attract that base. So, at any rate, it was time well spent. Ryan, do you want to add
The
much
only
to
other
that?
management issue that came up during that same talk was what they were doing at Quandary Peak.
Oh, yeah.
So just outside of Breckenridge, they'd been seeing a proliferation of vehicles blocking people's driveways, and so they kind of instituted a similar thing that they had done with Hanging Lake to mixed reviews, because some people still wanted to be able to drive up there and park, and it's not quite as isolated. So I think they're still working through some kinks. But interestingly, they also had some private property owners there that started charging people for parking, so they could kind of short circuit the program a little bit.
Yeah.
So admittedly, to them, it wasn't a perfect system, but it did help relieve some of the pressure on the parking and just issues for emergency vehicles, and apparently one woman who was very pregnant and ready to give birth could not get out of her driveway because it was blocked by somebody. And so I think all ended well there, but not without a bit of panic first. So yeah, I think those are always worthwhile to attend. So I think that's.
Anybody else? Okay.
I'd like to just extend a congratulations to Basalt football, high school football team, and all they've been doing this year. They have a big game Thursday against Aspen, and they're just making us proud. And also our D2 kids had a great season. So.
Where are we, like 6-0 or 7?
I think they're 7-0, and Aspen's the last game 8-0.
8-0.
And they play Aspen on Thursday in Aspen, so,
We have a 230-pound running back.
and he's
He's not a
Crushing it.
senior either, is he? He's a-
Is he a senior?
Is he
yeah.
a senior? What's his name?
That's Cooper Crawford.
Yeah.
he's the man.
He can
Yeah, he's
roll over
hard-
people.
Hard guy to tackle. That's pretty neat. So Aspen's the last one.
Aspen's the last game on Thursday night.
So what happens then? Do we play in
We-
is there a postseason?
Yeah, then we'll be
Start
playing
in
for
the state 2A tournament? And that's probably in Denver. or-
No, I mean, I know in the last couple seasons, we've had a bunch of home games because
Yeah.
of our record, so
That's
hopefully
great.
they
Yeah.
keep rolling. It's
Yeah.
been fun to watch.
Yeah, if there's anything we can do to, usually I go to games every once in a while and they say,
Well,
They do not.
And seeing, and for us, everything, the partnership we did with the school and the track and the scoreboard,
Yeah,
it's
scoreboard's
all really cool to see in
Jumbotron
action.
out there.
I talked to the principal about it and he's super excited, so
That's
hopefully
fun.
we can keep putting that
Fun
tobacco
stuff.
money to work.
And, cross-country too, the girls are,
Those.
Chris Lane's daughter and,
Kristen Maley? Kristen Maley?
Kristen Maley, yeah. She's really unbelievable. She's like setting all the records. So, yeah, we have some great athletes now. So, okay, with that, we would go to the manager's report.
Yeah, just a couple of quick items. The first is, if you haven't seen it, it wasn't the Friday report, but I was able to get out there today to take a look. The Public Works pole barn is going up. So it's actually going up really quickly. I can see they're gonna start to skin it here pretty quickly. So, thank goodness, that's finally coming to an end and appears to be, pretty much on time. So we'll get that schedule met this year. The River Park, if you didn't see today, we took delivery of our misting feature elements. And those are starting to go in across the way. So that's gonna look pretty awesome over there. And then the last thing I would just mention is I took a drive down to the Whitewater Park today just to kind of check on their progress. And it does look like they're coming together with all of those elements that we'd see kind of from the roadside, that additional parking for trucks with trailers on the riverside. And then it looks like they're getting ready to prep the ground for that concrete boat ramp. And then I was able to get down there and peek down through the elevated trail down there. Pretty much all the frame appears to be in place, and the majority of the surface, but not quite all installed. So looks like they're making pretty good progress down there. So it's gonna be pretty nice next summer.
Yeah, a lot of equipment gone.
Yep.
Down there. Okay, so with that, we turn to our next order of business on the agenda, which are presentations. Item 6A is a tribute to Gino Rossetti. So, Gino, we're pleased to see you here tonight, and come on up and have a seat. I think, yeah, have a seat right here. So I think James and Michelle have something organized here for you. We're happy to see you. And so we're here to thank you for all that you've done for this town, which is considerable. So this is a proclamation, and this is a chance for us to honor a guy that's given a lot to our community. So we sincerely thank you, and
I think you've heard me before on this, but I've been here quite a few years now, going through several mayors and council people. And I think I told you before, but it's worthwhile my saying it again, that this is probably the best group that has come into Basalt to run the ship properly. And it's been a huge change, even the attitude on the planning and zoning, because we knew that there was a level of trust here that was not necessarily shared year before. So I want to also compliment all of you here. It's a good team.
Thank you for those kind remarks. Michelle?
All right. Gino, I'll start with the beginning of the proclamation honoring community service in the town of Basalt. Whereas the town of Basalt acknowledges that the performance of government and other social institutions is powerfully influenced by citizen engagement in community affairs, and
Next up. Glenn, you're next.
Whereas individual citizens and citizen networks working with common good of the community are part of a special character of the town of Basalt. And
whereas Gino Rossetti has dedicated his time and shared his talents by serving with great professionalism and enthusiasm to further the quality of life for the Basalt community by providing organizational abilities, design influence and wisdom, and much enthusiasm as a long-standing member of the Basalt Planning and Zoning Commission.
Whereas the town of Basalt has been extremely fortunate to have Gino as a community leader and a community volunteer. We are sincerely grateful to Gino and hereby publicly acknowledge his many contributions.
Now therefore, we, the Basalt Town Council, proclaim that on the 25th day of October 2022, the town of Basalt is a far, far better place by the role model and deeds of
Gino Rossetti. Proudly honor him for his vital and many contributions to the community of Basalt.
Thanks, Gino. Bill, would you like to offer? Bill Marin's in the back there. He's spent a few
Come up
years.
here to the mic
Come on
up.
I would like to speak for the whole planning commission, and since I'm here, but it's been a pleasure and a privilege to serve with Gino all of these years. He's been an invaluable part of our master plans and our ongoing reviews of all of the challenges that's faced the planning commission as we've been working together. So thank you, Gino. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Been good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
All right,
Thanks,
thank you all
Gino.
very much.
Thanks for coming. Wonderful seeing you. And
you got the phantom.
oh yeah. Oh, Gino. Small item. So the proclamation we just read has been duly signed. I tried my best penmanship. So congratulations.
Words?
More or less.
That and the dollar, I'll get a copy.
Thanks, man.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Best of luck to you.
So, our next order of business is the Midland Avenue Streetscape Project Update. So, Catherine Christoph and Michelle will let us know where we are. Thank you for, there we go.
all right. Well, Catherine has a cold, so I'm going to do most of the talking.
Okay.
So she can save up for the next update. We're just going to give you a quick check-in on the Midland Streetscape project. And there we go. You can go to the next slide. They're so short. So as we know, this project was approved by the voters in November 21 for construction, repair, and improvements to this historic district area. Initial public outreach was held in the spring months of this year, and then that resulted in 3 conceptual design options, which you all saw earlier in the year. And then further public outreach brought us to a preferred design. The team led by Connect One Design is at 30% design documents, which is a milestone for vetting the conceptual design. This is where we do things like figure out what the water line is going to look like, how many taps are going to work, and where the infrastructure is going to happen. It's kind of really the heavy lift on the not exciting elements of the design. The next slide. In 30% design, there are also details of construction phasing and estimated costs. Currently, the team is looking at the first phase of construction along the Midland Spur, which is, as we know, highlighted in orange on this slide. And let's see here. In part of this phasing, what will be realized is that the parking that will be disrupted during the other phases of construction will be available along the Midland Spur for the businesses. So we'll be able to continue to promote business activity while there's construction by having this kind of ample parking in this area. And one lane of traffic is proposed to be open the entire time during Midland Avenue during construction. On the next slide. So this is not anything totally new for you guys, it's just a little bit of an update. Let's see here. Through 30% construction, it was determined that the construction schedule will be shortened slightly from 12 to 36 months was the original estimate, down to 12 to 18 months, assuming supplies arrive on time. So this has been a big improvement, and that's part of what we're going through as we go from 30% to 60% design as well. The project is estimated within budget currently. That's another big check-in during 30% design. Are we at any fatal flaws, any major items that put us over? So far, so good. We do anticipate coming back to council with more check-ins as we make some hard decisions about what we have to value engineer out or not. And then the last slide is that we're in the process of contracting a communications professional to craft a marketing campaign to support our businesses during construction and to keep everybody updated on construction schedules and updates, and for those to be consistent and often. And this is a slide of the River Park because that's going to be our major promoter of the downtown while Midland is under construction. So linking the events that we have at the River Park to the businesses during the summer of next year and going forward is a main strategy. So that's the short and sweet of it. There's nothing too exciting right now.
When does the dust start to fly, though? When do we start cutting paving, and what's the winter season? What's the next 4 months look like?
Anywhere between February and April. To be determined still.
What are the first steps? What do we, what should we expect to see out there?
Yeah, like Michelle kind of showed, Midland Spur will be where we kind of hit things hard initially. We'll be wanting to get through all that deep utility work in the spur and get it wrapped up so that that can become a space for parking, maybe even potentially some material storage to alleviate some of the pressures that the downtown core is going to feel during the midst of construction next summer.
Okay. So in terms of disruption of paving, and that's going to occur in the spring of '23?
Paving, we're just not at that level of detail yet.
Okay.
I mean, we don't need, paving, the road will be in a condition that'll be drivable throughout construction. And the paving itself might only occur once, the project's fully complete, because we wouldn't want that to get torn up in a way that wouldn't make, financial sense for the town.
I get that question a lot, I must say. I've every merchant on Midland Avenue has asked me when should we get ready? And I said,
Yeah.
well,
So
finding the schedule right now, so I had evasive answer.
Bill, I think that's kind of the strategy that we have in hiring that communications person, so that we can get ahead of that. So we know those questions are being asked, and as they get closer with the contractor digging in on what the schedule will look like in reality, we can start to share those things out. So I would expect that we'll come back with some kind of plan, and then be able to just speak to those questions you're getting with regularity.
Yeah,
So for this winter season, it's going to be life as usual for most of our businesses. Okay. Council, questions of staff on Midland Avenue update?
And I think that we'll have a better understanding, some more specifics about the actual construction schedule by the end of November, early December. So we can come back and say, here's our target start date.
Yeah.
We're just not quite there yet.
Okay,
So.
all right. All good? Okay, thank you very much. So we will, at this point, move to update on the broadband projects. Looks like the same cast of characters.
Yeah, still us. All right, and this is a relatively brief update as well, but just wanted to get you guys up to speed on the various fiber projects that we have going on throughout town. The first one is that Highway 82 fiber optic line that you all may have noticed going in on your comings and goings. The project started in 2021. And as a reminder, the installation of that conduit was a requirement of the tree farm to better, so that CDOT could better control their traffic lights. So hopefully in the future, they'll be controlled in a more, I don't know, succinct manner. And the project was also partially funded by the developers in Willits. They've been able to successfully complete most of the project at this point. Like I mentioned, it started in 2021. And that was mostly the work that was outside of the travelway. This summer they worked a lot in front of the bus station, so you may have seen some traffic congestion as they were getting that done. And then what is a common problem in Basalt is they've run into in their boring efforts that the soils are really cobbly. So boring isn't always the most effective way to get conduit through the ground in this area. So on the next slide, you'll see the two areas that are left to be done are the originally intended boring locations, both under Willits Lane and Elgibel Road. They won't be able to bore there, so they'll be coming back next spring to just use a typical trenching methods to get that fiber installed. And just as a reminder, we are getting conduit installed for the town's use in addition to that CDOT conduit that will be going in. Any questions on that project?
Are we boring under 82 for
They
conduit?
were not part of that, but they are boring under 82 to get the tree farm connected into the system. But we're not helping fund that portion of the project.
Are there a couple spots where we're going boring underground, right under?
Right, that was the intent, to bore under Willits Lane and Elgibel Road, but they're finding it to be so cobbly that they're not able to do so.
So they try to bore and it just kind of collapses all the rocks and everything in there.
And actually, they hit the large cobble and they break, their drill rigs, or they're meeting refusal and aren't able to break through that cobble. Yeah.
I saw a film once where they were drilling like that, the whole kind of community slid into the hole. It's not gonna occur.
Stay away from Willits Lane next spring then.
But that kind of leads me to the next project, which is the Picken County project, where they're finding similar issues, not people falling in, but boring troubles. So the town's been working with Picken County on this middle mile project, which is getting fiber to the greater valley, and then included in that is a fiber loop, if you will, that goes through Basalt to get our community connected to that kind of backbone Holy Cross line that's essentially going up the Rio Grande Trail and otherwise. So in that project, they're installing two 2-inch conduit. One will be Holy Cross and the other will be either shared with Picken County or the town of Basalt. The Picken County's been working with Nixco, I think that's how you say that contractor's name, on construction. And those few areas they've completed. On the next slide, that might show it a little bit better.
hopefully you can see, but the area that's in orange here is conduit that we've actually installed as part of the Basalt River Park project, or the piece that's under the bridge that was installed with the construction of the bridge. So that's conduit that we've essentially, given to the project, or that's been in alignment with the project. The other alignments that are in green, both as you'll see along Emma Road, connected to that Data Meet Me Center, if you're familiar with the Picken County offices over near Stubby's, and then connecting across 82 down south side to the park and ride, and then there's a jump where it's headed towards the high school as well. Those green stretches they've installed. The areas that are in blue around the roundabout here as you come into town, and then additionally near that gas station in the south side, those are kind of the next step in the project, but they're also running into these boring issues where they're running into a lot of cobble. So kind of to be determined on how much of that blue area they're able to get completed this year. What they don't complete this year, they'll be doing next year. And then otherwise, these other areas that hopefully you can see that are in red will be where the project is completed in 2023. So in front of the library, along Midland, and then otherwise on the south side, getting all the way up to the high school. Yeah, they'll be, where they can't bore, again, they'll be moving to the more traditional construction method of trenching to get that conduit installed. But they're working under Picken County, that contractor's working under Picken County on that project. And do you all have any questions on?
So the high school will be hooked up this summer, I guess, or?
Yeah, so next summer, probably they won't be live until towards the end of next summer, because Holy Cross needs to finish all their connections to Picken County and Aspen, and then Aspen will be the utility provider, or the internet service provider that that runs the utility. So all those connections need to happen before we're able to go live down here.
So their bandwidth and speed will really pick up dramatically?
Yes, that's my understanding, yeah. That's the deal. Yeah, so there's that one, and then I just wanted to mention a couple other smaller projects that we have going, or that have been completed. One is that new public works site in Willits, or next to Umbrella. Since we had that site torn up last summer, we did get the fiber infrastructure installed while we were out there and in the ground. So that site is kind of prepped and ready for that utility, when it's available on that site. And we installed the conduit in a way that it will be available to TAC in that medical center there, because I'm sure they'll have an interest to, draw off that fiber utility once it's in the area. And then additionally, on the Midland project, we're kind of trying to be as forward-thinking, if you will, on this project as possible, and getting conduit in the ground for these technologies that we know are coming. So we'll make sure to have conduit available, or get conduit installed so it will be available for that fiber utility when and if, it gets to downtown Basalt as well.
Great stuff.
Yeah, and one more thing I will mention too, as part of that Picken County project, Town Hall should be connected to the fiber next summer as well, so that'll be a good thing.
It's good news.
Yeah.
Is the library chipping in for that, or we're just including
Yes.
them in the project? Yeah.
Mhm.
Great, well, that will help. Okay, thank you, guys. Any questions, council, discussion on our broadband?
Great. All right, that's all for now.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so, next order of business are council actions. First one is interview and appointments. This is for BPAC, our Basalt Public Arts Council. So we're going to meet Josh Mueller and consider appointing Josh. So if you pass the rigorous test here that will be applied.
Good evening, Council.
Doesn't look too scary, does it? So, Michelle?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick introduction of Josh Mueller here. Josh currently works with Robert Singer and Associates in West Basalt as a lighting designer and project manager. His background is in mechanical engineering, and he is skilled in areas of design, culinary arts, and the performing arts. Josh has attended 5 BPAC meetings, during which time he has provided valuable input and insight into BPAC's River Park sculpture proposal and contributed toward the Midland Avenue streetscape in 2023 work plan discussions. BPAC members have voted unanimously to provide a recommendation to Town Council to appoint Josh to the commission. So staff recommends that Town Council interview Josh as a candidate for BPAC, and if comfortable, make a motion to appoint Josh Mueller to the Basalt Public Arts Commission.
Great. Josh, welcome. I, for one, was fascinated by your resume going to, it's not a direct line, is it, typically from mechanical engineering to public art? But it's way cool. So I think we'll really enjoy having your skill set and education services. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? How do you go from
Sure.
mechanical engineering to art?
So, growing up very involved in the arts, was thankful to have art in school all the way from K into college even. Took a few studio classes to fulfill fine arts credits and those sorts of items. But just have the analytical brain for engineering. So that's where I led into college. Might as well, but have always been interested in architecture and art, and art has been a vital part of my life throughout my whole life, whether that is, as Michelle said, culinary, I do cake decorating, or performance arts, various like school plays and other small activities like that, as well as the visual arts, and I do woodworking and various other forms. So excited to give that expertise of both the creative side, but also the technical side of a lot of the questions I've been asking in the meetings are sort of some of the practical ones of like, okay, so how do we get this done? Where are some of the shortcomings or some of those plans that we may not be foreseeing, to try and get that engineering mind in there and really come at it from another angle.
Nice. Are you involved in, do you do HVAC design? Is that what your specialty is in work?
I don't. I do
Yeah.
lighting design. So sort of the mix between the engineering side and architecture design side.
Great. Questions for Josh?
You didn't bring a cake with you?
Picture one of the best in show cakes. I'm really curious what a best in show cake.
Oh, they're grandiose.
Yeah.
3 tiers, lots of piping, and hundreds of hours almost for each one.
So do you like MC Escher? Is that one of your favorite artists?
Yeah, a lot of my art tends to be those sorts of geometric, but things that make you question what's there and what you're seeing.
All right.
Mayor, I move the town council appoint Josh Mueller to the Basalt Public Arts Council for a 3-year term to end October 2025.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion? All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Unanimous with Josh, so welcome, and we look forward to working with you on BPAC. So
Thanks for volunteering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Josh.
we'll look for you on the scaffolding on these murals that were.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, next item, 7B, public hearing of first reading ordinance 2021-22. Ordinance of the Town of Basalt, Colorado, approving amendments to municipal code section 16-191, wireless communication facilities regulations. Jeff and James and Michelle.
Oh, I'm out on this one.
You sure? I'll handle this one. Mr. Mayor. So for those of you that were on council in 2019, I'm sure the excitement from the last time I presented on this subject is just worn off, so we're back. We're back again. In 2019, the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, adopted a federal order that preempted state and local government regulations of wireless communication facilities in certain aspects. And the idea was to help facilitate the rollout, the quick rollout of 5G. And the main things that that order did were to create a shot clock, so anyone that would come in to try to deploy some piece of wireless small cell technology, an application had to be processed within a certain period of time. The other thing it did was created different categories. Well, I guess what it did was, with respect to small cell facilities, said that those are permitted uses in all zone districts. And with respect to public rights of way, anything that's not a tower is a permitted use. And so really trying to make it easier for the communications industry to deploy 5G. And so in 2019, the town and most other municipalities adopted code provisions in response and to regulate wireless communication facilities. And those regulations included zoning for each of the different types of wireless communication facilities, created design standards to encourage things like camouflaging and co-location of facilities, height restrictions, and really set up procedures for processing these applications. And not long after that code was adopted, the FCC continued to make amendments to its order, and other things have just kind of changed on that federal landscape. And so we're back here now in a few years later to amend that code, again, because there's been some of these changes on a federal level. And then 3 years in, we've seen, okay, here's some best practices. Here's some other ways to better regulate these things, looking at other communities. And so my office has been working with some of our other clients on making similar changes, and here we are with some in front of you tonight. And so I'm going to stay relatively high level with this, and then if you guys have questions, just interrupt me or chime in. And so I guess to begin with, wireless communication facilities are made up of a few different categories. There are small cell facilities, alternative tower structures, which are things like a tree that a cell tower that looks like a tree, or a cell tower that looks like a light pole. Base stations, these are things that are largely in support of some other wireless piece of infrastructure. And then towers, and towers are the things that you think of, the massive deployment, not small cell. And again, our land use code was amended to be consistent with the federal law and make those small cell facilities permitted uses in all zone districts. And with the town rights of way, make anything that's not a tower permitted use. But where the real meat of the ordinance relates to design standards and what you can do as a permitted use. So some of the new things that came up for 2022 related to micro facilities, replacement of poles, what constitutes a substantial change to a pole. And as a result, as you can see in the code that's in front of you, a lot of our changes, these changes go towards kind of minimizing the impacts of wireless communication facilities while still ensuring that, yeah, we're going to be in a position to allow for them to be deployed and allow for good service. So the things that we've done are to encourage co-location of facilities. And so this includes if an applicant is coming in looking to develop a, say put in a replacement for a light pole. They want to put their technology in like a fake light pole, an alternative tower structure in the right of way. Well, we don't want a whole bunch of these lining the street if a different carrier comes in. So we've included standards to require that the base of that pole include room for 2 other providers to locate their equipment, and so that can be consolidated on a single structure. We've also created protections for certain locations. So along Midland Avenue and in the core here, there are restrictions on basically areas where the facilities can't be deployed. So they would be there along Midland. As you might remember, the V here looking down towards the park. Other landmark properties or historic properties, which are all listed in the ordinance, which I won't go through here. And there are also spacing requirements to ensure that they're a certain distance apart. Now, what the code also allows for is if a developer came in and said, look, with these restrictions, we can't make it work. We can't site these things close enough together to string a network together. Well, the code shifts the burden onto an applicant to say, well, you need to show to us that it's not technically feasible for you to deploy your network based on these restrictions. And if you can't, then we can waive or allow for certain restrictions not to be imposed so that your technology can be deployed. And since 2019, when our code was adopted, we've had, is it just the two?
Just two.
Just the two applications that are still in process, but getting pretty close to the finish line for over in Willits. There'll be 2 fake light posts in Willits, and then one that's actually going to be in the CDOT right-of-way. But when that project first came in, it looked different. And then because of these regulations, it's going to end up in have a much lighter touch on that area from a visual and aesthetic perspective, while still allowing for that network to be deployed. A couple of the other things that are in this new ordinance are height restrictions. So depending on the area, at least for things that are within the right-of-way, what the height restrictions would be. So we looked at, if you're going to primarily be using things like this fake light pole example, well, what are the heights of our commonly used light poles in different neighborhoods? So we put those heights in there, and it's 16 feet on Midland and in residential areas, 25 feet in Willits. Did some amendments to the setbacks. Again, a few other design and location standards. There's 600-foot spacing requirements unless it's not technically feasible. Storage bays that I mentioned. Another concept was sometimes all of these small stuff facilities, a lot of times they come with like a suitcase or stuff that goes to support kind of what broadcasts the network. And where's a good spot to put that? And I mentioned that base of a tower. Another concept was to create vaults so that they could be stored underground in vaults, and so we have some provisions related to that. We put in some provisions related to camouflaging and then protection of town infrastructure and landscaping. There's a few changes to the review procedures. And then one of the other ones we did was if you're going to locate infrastructure in the town right-of-way, there's a requirement that you obtain a license from the town, a license agreement, a right to exist in the town right-of-way. And we prepared for developers a master license agreement, so we can get agreement on all of the kind of, if you buy any piece of technology and you get all the fine print, we can get all of the fine print agreed to with the developer up front. And then just for any additional site that might be in the town right-of-way, it can be kind of an addendum to that agreement. So that's another thing that we are doing as part of this proposed ordinance. So that's kind of the overview. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And again, this is kind of let's keep up with what's happening on the federal level and looking around at our neighbors and best practices throughout the country. What can we do to put ourselves in the best position to regulate wireless communication facilities?
What's the immediate impact we're likely to see for 5G? I mean, I was looking at some of the specs. The antenna are pretty compact. They look like they're...
Yeah, it's like a 3-foot cube is the small cell facility dimension to qualify.
And that's a repeater and amplifier and the antenna, everything's
that's
that box.
To then kind of keep stringing it along, in that network. So rather than have a big tower that, and again, this is very layperson terms, but instead of a big tower that broadcasts out, these little smaller nodes that kind of project more horizontally and need to be closer together to kind of connect. And
We know where they're gonna be, like up in Old Town, Homestead and so forth.
Well, we haven't received any applications for
Yeah.
anything. In Old Town, it's just been the 2 applications over in Willits, for those 2 polls that you'll see sometime in the next few months, I think, James?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of an approval, we don't know when they actually deploy. One is adjacent to Stedman, and one is adjacent to the Mezzaluna area there.
How long did that application process take for those two?
Well, it took a while because they kept changing their application and, you know, we would tell them they needed to provide photo simulations or this and that, and it would take them a while to come up with those. I think they're just doing so many at the current time that it takes them a while to adjust their applications.
Will those applications be complete by the time this becomes real?
Yes.
Okay.
Are the applicants typically like the big wireless service providers, or is it contractors for them, or is that curiosity?
It depends. This current applicant's AT&T, so it is one of, obviously, the big ones. And I should mention on this shot clock component, that time begins once an application is deemed complete. And as Michelle also experienced working in Aspen, they're never complete when they're first submitted. So there's always, or rarely, I expect. And so there's always something like, hey, we need this piece of information. You didn't address this piece of the code. And in this experience, it's been an iterative process where we'll kind of go back to the drawing board and come back. But it's been, seems to me that it's worked well and as designed.
It's generally a lot of subcontractors that are putting in the applications for these. And so the technological expertise is often varied through the applications that are submitted. But we've had some success with the application in Willits, where we've gotten it down from being multiple poles into one actual light pole. So that it feels like a win right now. I don't think unless we tell you where it is, you might not know.
Does it actually function as a light pole, or just?
It's got our light fixture
Looks
off
just
of
like
it.
anything else.
It'll just have a
Similar.
wider base on the bottom. Will probably be the most likely distinguishing characteristic.
So we've had, kind of notoriously sketchy service at Willits over the years with 4G. Is the anticipation that 5G will really improve service in the Willits town site? Do we know?
I assume that's
That's what we've heard.
Yeah.
I'd say for sure, though.
Even voice services.
What's that, David?
Even voice service is lacking in certain, you get a
Yeah.
certain spot and you cannot get a call even, let alone data.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot better since they put in that big tree down in the business area. Before it was like non-existent.
Do we charge a fee for those master leases in
We do.
the right of way?
I can't remember what it is, or if we. Yeah.
Kind of got pointed out, it's a big tree.
And there's as I said, I know there's another FCC thing, was there's a limit on what you can charge for license, for granting those licenses.
All right.
What, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
That is, can a private entity charge whatever they want if it's on their property?
Yeah.
Is that the code addresses that too?
No, well, I mean, that would be a deal to be worked out between the property owner and the wireless developer, kind of what they would want to lease their building, say the rooftop for, to allow for them to locate on the roof. We don't have, and I'm not aware of any restriction on what a property owner could charge someone for a lease site for communication facilities on a private level. But with respect to how we can grant licenses on our town rights of way, there are some limitations.
But the code restrictions would still affect the private property.
The code restrictions for zoning and yes, all the design standards, all that stuff,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, this is a public hearing, first reading, so checking to see, it doesn't look like anyone has called in. And I don't see anyone in the audience, so certainly we're open to public comment. If there's anybody that's listening in would like to address council on ordinance number 20, wireless communications facilities regulations, please call in. If none, I would entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 21, or excuse me, ordinance 20 on first reading.
Mayor, I move the town council approve ordinance number 20, series of 2022 on first reading, continuance at the public hearing and second reading for November 8th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Pam, please call the roll.
Absolutely. Let's begin with Glenn Drummond.
Yes.
Elise Hoddle,
Yes.
Brian Slack,
Yes.
Bill Kane,
Yes.
Dieter Schindler,
Yes.
David Knight,
Yes.
Angela Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Good work on that. I did my best to read it. Got about halfway through and I felt this throbbing pain in the front of my forehead. It was my head hitting the desk. But it was good. The reactions were hard to follow. Okay, we move next to item 7C, resolution number 58, resolution, series of 2022. Resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Basalt, Colorado, approving a cost-share agreement between the Basalt Sanitation District, Town of Basalt, and BBC Basalt LLC related to the lightning bolt sanitary sewer improvement. Jeff, Catherine, James.
Yeah, thank you. As the mayor indicated, this item is consideration of a resolution that would approve a cost share agreement on the lightning bolt sanitary sewer improvement. As background, in adopting the Basalt Center Circle project, approvals for the construction of a mixed-use project at 140 Basalt Center Circle, which is the former Clark's Market property. A condition was included that a cost-share agreement be brought back to the town council for the lightning bolt sanitary sewer improvement. The lightning bolt sanitary sewer improvement would be a new sanitary sewer connection between the sewer line in Two Rivers Road and the sewer line that is on the south side of the Two Rivers Road Midland Avenue intersection that goes through the Basalt River Park. Making this improvement allows for the correction of capacity issues in the sewer main in the Midland Spur area. It also allows for the sewer main running under Lions Park that you can see here to be eliminated and abandoned, giving for better flexibility in the future for the town to do planning on this property. The lightning bolt improvement would benefit the BCC applicant, the town, as well as the Basalt Sanitation District. The council reviewed and approved of some deal points in September related to the cost share agreement. And one of those deal points was that the town would at most contribute $272,000 to the project, which is roughly proportionate to the cost savings that the town would see on the Midland Avenue project in relation to making the lightning bolt approval. The Basalt Sanitation District Board approved of an agreement and included the deal points that the council approved of in September. So this evening, staff would recommend that the council discuss the draft agreement that's attached in your packet to the resolution, and we would recommend that you approve it as it has potential timing implications on moving forward with the Midland Streetscape project.
Okay. Questions of James?
Did the district approve what you guys highlighted in the packet?
There's one provision in the packet that's highlighted in yellow in the agreement that would need to go back to the district board after the council were to approve it. And basically, it's a provision that would allow for the first $54,000 in project savings if the bids were lower than the cost estimate that was done. Those first $54,000 would go back to the BCC developer. So that is going to go back to the Basalt Sanitation District Board, but the rest of the agreement the board has signed off on.
And then what's our feeling on the cost? Like, let's say this gets put out to bid, comes in over, district doesn't approve it. What's that do to our timing on Midland?
Well, we've kind of been working through the timing provisions on Midland. We think we might have the ability to kind of have the lightning bolt go concurrently in terms of construction with some other pieces. But it would be good to get that going, as early as possible. But we think that in the case it doesn't go as quickly as we're trying to get it to move, that we could still make the Midland streetscape kind of work on the timeline that we're working on the phasing. We would just construct it kind of concurrently with other pieces of the streetscape.
So I think I know the answer to this, but just for the record, so I guess we're all clear about it, if for any reason, if we, approve this tonight, we have $272,000 in play. If for any reason this does not go forward, are we at risk, or will this 272, in the event that we do not execute the lightning bolt, would this just be credited towards the other alternative, which is improving the Midland Spur and the Cross Park alignment?
Yeah, so if for some reason the lightning bolt didn't go forward at all, and there were no developer contributions, there were no tap fees or anything from Basalt Sanitation, then that might cause us to rethink the design, just out of necessity, back to its original form, and we'd essentially be able to use that money for that effort.
Okay. The name Lightning Bolt.
It relates.
It's a kind of a surprising.
Yeah, it relates.
Potentially ironic, for a sewer line.
It relates to the shape of the sewer line in.
I knew there was. That's got to be.
That's the lightning bolt.
Excellent. Okay.
Susan might get credit for that name.
Yeah,
I think. Going back.
I thought it was Yancey came up with it. All right. Additional questions, comments, motion?
Mayor, I move the town council adopt resolution number 58, series of 2022.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. We can do a voice vote on this. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstention.
Abstention. Okay, so we have 6-0 on the resolution. Okay, that concludes. I think this is a land speed record. We're at 7:04, so.
Not bad.
Pardon?
Not bad.
No, we need these every once in a while, so,
Yeah.
thanks, everybody.
Still warm?
And
Yeah, probably.